The following program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.
Welcome to another episode of Speaking with the Senator. I'm Senator Kevin Avard. I represent District 12 here, and I'm with my colleague, or former colleague, Carl Seidel, with the People's Voice. And we have a special guest today with Senate President Chuck Morse from Salem. And I want to welcome you, Senator. We really appreciate all the hard work you're doing up there, and being our Senate President. It's quite a responsibility that you have on your shoulders, but we appreciate you coming on the show. We know that you're running for U.S. Senate as well.
Well, it's great to join you.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
So you're the Senate President,
Yes.
and tell us a little bit about how you got involved with politics and how you got to be Senate President.
Yeah, well, I started in politics after I did, the local board thing. I served on a Boys and Girls Club board in Salem, and I served on a nursing home board. And while serving on them, a few people said, boy, you should go into politics, and that started, I did the local selectman thing, and then I went on to be the town moderator. But while I was doing that, I think the best part that happens in politics in New Hampshire is Speaker Sitek at the time came to me and she said, you need to get up to Concord. And at the same time, my 3-year-old daughter, Emma, says, Dad, I don't like saying goodnight to you on TV, because as a selectman, every night I was on TV until, 10, 11, 12 o'clock. I mean, I never saw a Monday Night Football game end when I served as a selectman. And so,
Really?
So I did that. I ended up going into the House and serving there for 2 terms. And from there, I went on to serve in the New Hampshire Senate. And I've been the longest serving Senate President in New Hampshire's history.
Well, I think I was one of those. I remember my first term. I actually voted for you to be Senate President, and Jeb Bradley as Majority Leader. So not only are you the Senate President, but you're also a business owner.
Yeah.
And how long have you been doing that?
Well, I started in 1988. I started from scratch. I actually, when I graduated from college, I went into the Nursery and Guidance Center business as a job. I got hired, and actually I tell everybody, not only did I get hired, the person that bought the company at the time had this review done of the company. A man from California interviewed me, a German man. And so I saw the report when they got done with the report a month later. The report said, fire me. And the owner of the nursery made me vice president. I was 23 years old, and I became vice president of a pretty good-sized organization. And after that, when I was 27, I went out on my own.
So I know that, I personally know that after you're Senate President, and then you put on your work clothes, you get up early in the morning, you go to the nursery, and you get things done.
Yep.
Like, how early are you up?
Well, it used to be 3 o'clock. This year, I'll admit, in running for U.S. Senate, I've had to get up at 4 o'clock because I'm going the other end of the day, which isn't normal for me. But I'm at the nursery somewhere between 4 and 5 o'clock in the morning. And obviously, on the state Senate side, I have to be up there around 8 o'clock in the morning.
So you know what it's like to have a payroll?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, my wife and I talk about it all the time. Freshwater Farms, when I started it, was 3.5 acres, and we had a pile of debt. And then I got married to Susan right after that, and we ate a lot of pizza for a lot of years before I decided to join the local boards, because obviously, Freshwater got bigger. I mean, I got 13 acres. I got over 50 employees now. And once it got bigger, that's when I started getting involved in the community, which, it's the same community that helped build my company. So.
Yeah. I ran for, my first bit in politics was zoning board, planning board, and city councilor up in the Franklin area. And there's one thing that I discovered, that when you serve on these local boards, you really get an education as what's going on in your local community, how it's run, how people feel about things. And you say to yourself, this is a free education. This is an amazing and enlightening. And then as you get into the state rep and of course in the Senate, it just, you're looking at a whole host of different issues from different perspective, which the general public doesn't seem to have that opportunity. Now as Senate President, you're running for U.S. Senate. We got a lot of things that we've accomplished just in our party this year alone. I mean, you want to talk a little bit about the budget and what we've done as collectively as a GOP?
Yeah, well, I think it's the most conservative budget we've ever built. I think we worked well with the governor and with the House to get this budget across the board. And in that budget, I think you saw what the governor and I had talked about early on is it's COVID's here. We coming out of COVID, we want to drive an economy. So we figured the best way to drive the economy was to lower the business taxes and eliminate the interest and dividends tax. And that's what we started with. That was our base. Along with that, I mean, I think we understand the needs in New Hampshire, and that budget provided for those. But that budget's core was, let's lower the taxes and drive the economy. You guys both know this economy is booming in New Hampshire. I mean, our revenues are like almost $400 million more than we predicted, and our bank account has over $250 million in it. It's great.
It was kind of funny. We were talking about, we all voted the exact same way, but everybody wanted to take credit for the same bill. But I remember Senator D'Alessandro pointing out the fact that you've been in finance now in the Senate for quite a while, and he really praised you on this, which was coming from the other side of the aisle. Thank you very much. Thank you, Lou, for that compliment. And he did compliment you quite a bit for that. And hopefully you can bring that to Congress.
Well, I hope so too. I mean, I'm looking at that you've shown that by cutting taxes, we're making more money than when we had the higher tax rate. And we do things with it that we want to do, which encourages people to improve your economy here in New Hampshire.
Yeah, I think, the way I treat it, and I've been treating it this way for a long time on the budget side, it's all about honor and respect. I try to teach everyone that, that comes into politics. And if you treat people with respect, they'll treat you with respect. Senator D'Alessandro and I have a great relationship. I mean, and it's based on that.
Yep.
I mean, we don't vote together on every issue. I mean,
No.
that's pretty obvious.
Yeah.
But, I think what he was talking about at the time was how, we set this course to get a rainy day fund that has $250 million in it. We started back in 2010-11 with about $8 million in that rainy day fund and about $800 million in deficits. So we really took it a long way in the state of New Hampshire, and we've done a lot to grow the economy in the state of New Hampshire.
Yeah, and one of the advantages of having that in the rainy day fund, I think even our local senator, Senator Cindy Rosenwald, thank you. She sits next to me. She was saying how that our bond rating is affected by that, and we built it up so that our bond rating as a state, and we had the COVID, situation. So it's nice to have that money there in case there's an emergency, right?
Yeah, I think the challenges we have is, we've actually taken the cap and raised it for being able to put away money, and I'm sure the city does. I know my hometown of Salem does. They pay attention to how much money they have in savings. It's an important part of what you're doing. In Concord, we look at that all the time. I mean, I spend a lot of time studying capital, studying how we release our bonds in the state of New Hampshire, and New Hampshire's looked at strong. They really are, and I think we've done that by proving that we live within our means, and that's really what Wall Street wants to see. That you're not spending more than you take in, and that's the important piece that I think they look at.
One other thing before I start talking a little bit about going to Washington, we have this money in the reserves in the rainy day fund, but we've sent a lot of money back to the cities and the towns as far as tax relief, haven't we?
Yeah, we started the budget with 300 million going back in tax relief, and we just added another 100 million in the Senate that I believe the House approved this week that we're sending back to the communities. And that's over $400 million we're sending back. We heard the need, and we had produced enough revenue up in New Hampshire to send them back money.
So, Carl, you know how difficult it is to at least, there is an art to getting things done.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a process on creating legislation, negotiating legislation, and seeing it through. You really have to babysit your bills.
Well, you have to build up an audience, too, that's receptive to what you're doing. You have to communicate with them so that they don't have any arguments against what you want to do.
Right. And there's sometimes if you want to move the goalpost, you gotta kind of give a little, take a little, and that is part of the process. I'm the guy up there, you hit that little red button, there he goes. I'm learning to calm down a little bit. Senator Guida and myself, we're like that. But, Chuck, and there are a few, Jeb Bradley, even keel, just
Yeah.
and like you. One of the things that's going to be different, though, President Morse, when you go to Washington, this is a different atmosphere. We look at each bill, we process each bill. They don't do that in Washington like we do here in New Hampshire.
Well, it's one of the reasons I'm running, Kevin.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't do a lot of things like we do. I mean, we live within our means in New Hampshire. Washington, they just keep borrowing money. That's why we're in the position we're in right now with inflation, is because Washington outspends themselves and has to borrow. I mean, those are the things that drive me crazy about Washington. I think New Hampshire has a lot to send to Washington. Instead of Washington trying to keep pushing things down on us,
Right.
I think it's time we start pushing back to Washington our values. And that's why I wanted to run. I wanted to accomplish that. We have a rainy day fund. They don't. They owe trillions.
Yeah, they print it.
So I think that's what I can add to the mix and change the conversation. And it really is a conversation, right? That's how we do it in Concord.
Right.
We deal with facts, but we go through discussions about how we get to where we're going to spend this money. I mean, you don't do any different at home, so I don't think this is any different. And people try to make it more complicated all the time than it is. I love the budget in New Hampshire because it basically is a policy document that says what we all believe in.
Right.
Right? And we just make it balance as we're doing it. And that's what we do in New Hampshire. I'm going to take that to Washington. I firmly believe we have to accomplish that.
I think one of the things that I've learned about you, Chuck, is that you're a hard worker. I look at Washington, and these guys are on break, it seems like all the time, but you're always working. You're always working. You're engaged. And I think you bringing that ethic to Washington, and I think you take things very seriously. One of the things I wanted to mention to our audience, basically, is that I've never felt pressure. When we go up there, everybody's got these preconceived notions. Oh, well, the Senate President or Jeb Bradley or the Majority Leader or somebody's going to put pressure on you. The only pressure I ever get is from my constituents. I've never gotten it from you. I've never was told, Kevin, you got to vote this way. You've got to vote that way. This is what I really hope you bring to Washington as well. We're not cheap. Our party is we're like cats. Mm-hmm. We're very independent. We think strongly. We work on principles, and sometimes our colleagues on the same side of the aisle don't agree with us. We debate each other.
We have a lot of Republicans as a whole have a lot of different opinions in there, and working with them, I know in my 4 terms that it was an interesting time to have talks in the committees and do what you had to do without pressure. I agree with you there. It was interesting. It was a very I never intended to get into politics at all. I just wound up there and got in by actually my first time because the Democrats didn't fill one hole.
Ditto.
And then,
I had one sign made up, and Carl said, "You made it." What? I won?
We had to drag him into it, and it was a surprise that at the end
I won.
He says, "You're the third one, but you made it."
Yeah, we did.
Our award.
But yeah, so I think that whole independence that you're going to bring along, and allowing people to express themselves, but you still keep to your principles, and I can tell by your vote.
Well, I mean, obviously we all have a track record, right?
Yeah.
You know, I got to tell you, there was when I first went into the House. I think it was 1998. I went into the House in '99, but I remember Mike Wally, right, worked underneath
Yeah.
the Speaker, and we had a vote, and the House is all about whipping and everything else, right? So I remember it was a business vote, and I had disagreed completely with what was going on. And I remember Mike coming up and saying, you know, Chuck, you got to look at it this way, and you got to do this. And, you know, I said, no, Mike. I said, I strongly believe that businesses should be doing this. And, well, I'm going to tell you, that vote came out with like 394 to 6 or something like that.
No pressure.
I was one of 6, right? But I was determined to vote the way I believed personally. And I said, boy, I didn't get that one right. But, you know, I think that's the kind of thing that you learn in life. I mean, you learn, like, in our case in the Senate, committees in the House have 20 people on it. They get to dig a little deeper than we get to dig.
true.
So you get to find the people on a committee that you can trust in the House to go talk about an issue. And then you start to learn about it. And Kevin's right. I mean, I think Republicans, Democrats, we talk a lot in the Senate. I mean, it's not, I think we have great relationships. You know, we probably vote 80% of the time together. I mean,
Yeah. Towards the end of the night last night, especially when you're getting tired. Yeah. But yeah, you get a little bit tired. But you know, the thing is, there is a different spirit in the Senate, and I really love it. And I think it's because of the leadership that we have. I really do. And just going out and back with Senator Susie and just having a conversation, we can really be having a Donnybrook. Some of the voices can be raised, and then we walk into the back room. Yeah. So, what about this donut? Or you know, it could be we have a cook in our what's his name? Oh my gosh, Grant Bossy is a great cook. You know, and he makes these little cupcakes. And anyway.
he's
bringing great food. I want to get him on the show to talk about his recipes. But I think one of the things that I'm trying to get across is the fact that in the Senate, and I do believe it is because of the leadership, we don't look at each other as enemies.
Yeah.
We are colleagues first, definitely strong opinions, right? And we will go to head, but you'll see the strongest conservative talking with the strongest liberal in the Senate, but there's no allowance for this animosity. It doesn't seem to translate. And if you'd speak on that a little bit, as to, you know.
Well, it's another reason I think I need to go to Washington.
Yeah.
I think Washington is broke in that category.
Yeah.
You know, I don't see why we can't talk as people and solve problems like the border. I mean, you know, I believe the border being open is ridiculous, right? I mean, to solve that problem, though, let's start talking together. I mean, first, let's close it. Second, let's follow the laws.
Right.
And third, let's sit down and start talking about what we have to do as a country. But there's all kinds of things that I think you could solve in this country by just communicating. And I don't think that happens in Washington now, and I think I will be a lot different on that category.
Now, running for a senator position in Washington, what do you feel hearing from the people? Are they recognizing the same things we recognize?
Oh, people are excited.
Yeah.
I told Kevin that, you know, when he was inviting me on the show. I said, everywhere I go, people are excited about the fact that we can make change. That's what they want.
Right.
They want, you know, a thriving society. They really want strong leadership. I think this is pretty neat that people are getting excited about my campaign, and it's working in New Hampshire, and we're out every day doing this and talking to the people. And I said, as long as everybody's happy, I said, this is a great campaign. So let's just keep it going.
Good.
So
Yeah, I think balance is the other thing. Is, you know, one of the things that we're missing here in New Hampshire. You know, everybody talks about us being a purple state. Well, purple indicates, you know, you're red and you're blue, and obviously you come together. But we really don't have the other side of the story representing us up there. And right now, it's just one party, one rule, basically, up in the Senate. And so, if we have a Republican that has the experience and knows how to negotiate, knows the lay of the land and how the process works, that helps the conversation get even-sided. And I think that's one of the things that, at least that's what I'm hoping, and that's what I think I see. As you're running, you're going to bring that experience. You're a businessman. There are people that depend on you to sign their checks, at work. You show up so that they can show up, and I think that just brings a different, perspective. You got a Republican, now you have, we have Senator Shaheen on the other side. Hopefully you can, I'm hoping you win against Maggie, but it'll bring balance. It'll bring the conversation so that iron sharpens iron. We can at least have a legitimate conversation and equal representation, but I don't think we're getting that right now.
No, I mean, listen, Joe Manchin proved that you can have balance.
Yep.
I mean, the 51st vote in the nation is so important. I mean, that's what's so exciting about this race, right? I mean, the guy held up the budget. I mean, you're talking to a guy that loves budgets, right? I mean, I really do think that you have to go in and you have to dig in and you got to fight for what you believe in, and you've got to use the power of the votes to make things work. I mean, I think that's an important part of it. I mean, and I'll deliver that. I mean, I think I'm good at it. You are going to take a country boy from Salem, though, and put him in Washington, D.C. It's a little different, and I've been so used to going to Concord for the same $125 I get every year, to go up to this job, and I think the public doesn't realize that we volunteer for our positions,
Not enough.
I don't think they see that, but that's what we get. I mean, I get $25 more than Kevin, but I mean, it's
And they take out taxes too.
Yeah, I already spent mine. Yeah, but it's and it is an honor to serve up there, and it's a privilege, but it's also very eye-opening. And again, I think one of the things that you're going to bring experience, you're going to bring the business mind as well. You're going to bring the fact that I know that you're principle driven. I could tell that by your votes, and I would challenge anybody to look at the votes. One of the things I do love about this year, though, there are cameras in our committees, so we don't have to depend on the media. We don't. There's cameras in the Senate. We can watch every word. We can watch all the things that are going on in committee, and if you doubt, if you want to see how these negotiations are really going on, check it out. Nothing to hide. You can't hide, right? It's there, and that's a beautiful thing. I wish Congress would do that on every committee.
Well, New Hampshire's always been different, though, Kevin.
Yeah.
I mean, New Hampshire, unwritten rule is written rule. Everything has to come to the floor for a vote.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's not like Washington where they can put it in a drawer. So, I really do think you take New Hampshire to Washington, you ought to have a lot more of that. I mean, Sunshine does a lot to make budgets work and make a country work.
Yep.
And I think that's an important part of how we treat New Hampshire. It's always been visible. Like you said, we've changed it. The Speaker and I worked pretty hard to make sure that everything was visible at a time when people were skeptical about coming out because of COVID. So we wanted to make sure they could see what was going on in Concord. Not only did we open the doors so they could come back in, but we went online with everything. And I think that's an important part of government. It makes government much better when you do things like that.
Hey, one thing that caught my eye recently, you love plants, right? And you love the earth. You love a lot of the things that our environment. It's really important to us. And we did pass a couple of water bills. And I noticed that you did put something on Representative Mooney's bill, because New Hampshire's got an issue with water right now, and you added some money to that now.
Well, we changed the standards on PFOAs in New Hampshire.
Right.
When we changed the standards, a lot of communities saw challenges. I mean, no more than Londonderry. Londonderry, New Hampshire probably saw more challenges than any other town in the state of New Hampshire. But all these different areas that saw it with PFOAs, we put together a program. I worked with Senator Waters, across the line to get something done, that we had loans and grants, and we're working with the communities to solve problems and bring in water lines, and that's working throughout the state.
Yeah.
I mean, we've done a lot with water in New Hampshire. When Governor Sununu came in, Flint, Michigan had just happened, and he said that's not going to happen in New Hampshire. So in 2016, he asked me to get involved with all these water issues that we had in the state. I think we brought that a long way. We're going to show a new project this Monday, basically in the whole southern tier, where we're going to bring the sources to the communities, and we're asking the communities to pick it up from there. So I really, we've accomplished a lot, and I think
It's really important. As being chair of Energy and Natural Resources, things come to light that you go, oh my gosh, really? I didn't. Did you know that we're drinking the Merrimack River water? Yeah.
And we've tapped it in several places.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty interesting what we've done. Manchester, New Hampshire has done, with their water department that they have up there, has done an unbelievable job. And they're servicing a lot of the southern tier in New Hampshire. But so is in Nashua with Pennachuck.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's pretty neat how everybody's working together, and it's not stopping at the line of Nashua, and they're not talking to Hudson.
Right.
They obviously service Hudson with water, you know. But all these communities want to help each other when it comes to water, which it's been great. We really have gotten cooperation during this whole time period to, spread things. We had 58 communities we awarded to in October. 52 of those actually are moving forward right now to solve water problems in the state of New Hampshire. It is really, it's the people are paying attention, and they're trying to solve the problems locally, and the state's putting a piece in, but it's causing everybody to talk about it. And we're dealing with all the contamination, but we're also dealing with the fact that people need a source for the future. So
I think I see all this comfort in your running again for the Senate for Washington, in that you're satisfied with how the state is running. So you're comfortable with going out and going to sell yourself to get a higher level job and maybe get that in the country and the whole.
Well, I'm proud of what I've accomplished in New Hampshire. I mean, that's why I'm running, and I think it's important that I take that out to the public. Look, everybody knows who the governor is. I've been Senate President for 8 years, and not everybody knows who the Senate President is.
I don't think a lot of people know that we have a Senate president. I don't think they understand.
Well, I was governor for 2 days.
Yes, you were. When the governor leaves town, he's it.
No, when Senator Hassan left, she left 2 days early, and I became governor for 2 days. So
You got a
that's
bump
how
in
the
pay.
law works in New Hampshire. So, no, we really have accomplished a lot in the time period I've been up there, and I'm proud of that, and I think we're just trying to show the public.
I know we are running out of time, but I might go over just a little bit. But we also sent money back for the homeless just yesterday, didn't we?
Yeah. And there was something where we worked together, right? Because it started out with just funding the organizations that serve the homeless. And one of the senators from the North Country said, listen, we got homeless in my 50-some communities I represent too, but I don't have any of these organizations. So the compromise came over the fact that let's get into every community and help them with the homeless, right? And that's what came out yesterday. And that, Senator Khan did a good job of realizing that he had to compromise, brought a bill back after talking to a lot of you, that worked, and it's going to work for the state of New Hampshire.
And it's like tax. It really is because the towns have to absorb that, and so this is like again, it's another thing that the taxpayers, it's a way of relieving the pressure on them. Couple seconds, couple minutes. What do you look at the camera and say? Hey, I'm Senator Chuck Morse, and I'm running for U.S. Senate. Please vote for me, something like that. You got some final words?
Well, I really would like to explain to the community, when I started out as a kid in New Hampshire, I started out with challenges. I really did. I had a dad that was almost 100% deaf. Wow. And he certainly had disabilities, and that didn't end up being a great marriage between my mom and dad. And by the time I was 10, my parents were divorced, and, my mom was driving the family. I tell everybody, to make sure there were presents under the Christmas tree, my mother plucked turkeys at Thanksgiving. She worked for the dreaded IRS, too. But she also worked we had Rockingham Park in Salem, and she worked in the food service over there. But she did what she had to do to make sure the family had food on the table. and she put that in us kids. My first job was cleaning the church in Salem, and at my church, and $2 an hour back then. But I had to do that in order to play hockey and everything, and in order to go to college, I had to work for Market Basket and Kmart. I had a few failures there. I went nights, and there were times when I didn't have enough money to go anymore. But I ended up at Plymouth State. It's actually where I met back up with my wife, Susan. She didn't want to talk to me much at college, but we ended up dating afterwards. But no, I put myself through school, and I really made something of it. And when I got out of school, I told you the story of how I got into the nursery business, which is the love of my life. And I really think that growing up and working hard and everything is what's made me. And I've shown that in New Hampshire, and I'd like to prove to you that I can take that to Washington, and that's why I'm here. So thanks for having me.
That's New Hampshire to me.
Yeah,
I can relate to that
too.
So
Congratulations.
good luck, Chuck. And that could be a nice slogan, huh? Good luck, Chuck. All right. We really appreciate you coming on the show, and we really do wish you well. And thank you for all your service. I know what it's like.
Well, thank you very much.
If you need any help, we'll have people call you.
Right.
Anybody.
People that might like you there. Anyway, thanks for watching Speaking with the Senator. And if you want to contribute or getting involved with the campaign and maybe put a voice there that will be speaking for you, call Chuck Morse and try to help him out with his campaign. We'd love to see some equal representation up there. So
bring New Hampshire to Washington.
Yeah, bring New Hampshire to Washington, the Granite State. Live free or die. And I always appreciate Carl being here and all his service here as well. So until next week, thanks for watching Speaking with the Senator. We'll see you.
The preceding program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.